Hey guys, at the time of this video, we were seeing a historically low supply of diesel fuel in the United States. The shortage is coming in right about the same time as winter is starting to creep in, and it's starting to fuel some panic and concern among many. This is specifically going to affect people along the East Coast and the southeastern parts of the United States, which are already seeing effects from these shortages and will likely bear the brunt of it overall, but these will be widespread enough to affect all areas of the country. Major logistical companies have even come out and has gone as far as saying that they may not even be able to continue to meet the logistical needs of their shipping partners if these shortages in fuel take full effect like what's expected. Now, unfortunately, this shortage isn't something that can easily be fixed either. U.S. oil refiners at the time of writing this article are currently working at 102% capacity to produce diesel fuel, but are unfortunately not able to meet demands due to a lack of domestic refining capability, mixed with several other factories, such as over the last 2 years, we've seen multiple refineries closed out due to new government regulations put into play. Now, while the average American may drive a gas car or truck and think that this won't heavily affect them with the diesel fuel shortages, that's where you would be wrong. The lifeblood of this country runs off of diesel fuel. Everything from the gas you put in your car, to the food on your table, to the fire truck rolling down the road, they all need diesel fuel to be there. While this isn't something that is going to be pleasant to deal with, it's completely manageable if you plan for it in advance. If you're already prepping, you may be able to already check most of the items I'm going to go over off my list, but I do want to touch on a couple items anyway to think about when you're preparing to deal with this encounter. The first thing I want to bring up is keeping your gas tank above half a tank. One of the major things that can happen because of this shortage of diesel fuel is actually going to be some shortages of gasoline as well. Even with gasoline being plentiful compared to diesel fuel, it still has to get to a gas station after all, and if the diesel trucks and trains that transport much of this nation's gas run out of fuel themselves, there's not going to be any way to get that fuel transported to the gas stations. So by making sure you're keeping your car fueled up at least at half a tank, if you do encounter shortages, the gas stations you normally go to happen to be out of fuel, and then you do have emergencies take place, you're still going to have some fuel to work with. So keeping your cars at about half a tank is something I would strongly advise while we're waiting for this shortage to hopefully pass. The next item I want to bring up, and this is mostly going to be for you out there that have kids, especially younger kids, is stocking up on items like baby formula and diaper if you're using them. Overall, during a shortage, those are items that you're typically going to expect to see disappear first off of the shelves. Now, some of you may already notice the shelves are getting bare, so this is something I would not hesitate, especially for those of you with young kids at home, to stock up on. Because again, as soon as those shelves start to get bare, as soon as people start getting that feeling the supply chain starting to break down and not going to effectively keep stores stocked, I think it's going to be one of the first items to go, similar to how we saw it with the outbreak of COVID. The third thing that I want to make sure you guys all have is up-to-date fire extinguishers and your basic first aid stuff at your houses. Now, this one may feel a little bit off, but one thing that I want you to think about is if diesel shortages get bad enough, this could end up causing delayed response times or limited responses at all by fire and rescue services in some areas. Keep in mind, diesel, again, it's fueling those ambulances, it's fueling those fire trucks. And we've actually even gone to see situations like this occurring in other areas when shortages have happened where they only respond to limited calls or some of their vehicles are out of service due to those volumes of fuel being so low that you actually have to kind of be prepared to deal with stuff a little bit more on your own. So making sure, for example, you have a fire extinguisher you can use if you need to, that's not expired, and that you have the basic medical treatment to, medical equipment you would need to treat any basic injuries you have while you're waiting for those first responders to get there, since those response times might be something you start to see getting delayed, would be a vital step in preparing to deal with this. And the final thing that I want to touch on is making sure that you're keeping up with your food preps in general. If you have a couple extra dollars sitting around right now, I would definitely recommend going out there and adding some extra items into your preps. Keep in mind, especially meat items, whether you're dealing with, frozen or refrigerated meat, or you're even dealing with canned meat, is going to be one of those items that's most likely going to be the first to go, and also can be one of the most expensive items that we're going to see skyrocketing with these shortages. So again, keep up with your food preps. It's not something you need to go out and drop thousands of dollars more than normal on, but if you have $100, $200 sitting aside, for example, I would definitely go out and drop those on some extra food right now, because we may start seeing some shortages in those areas as these diesel prices keep going up and diesel keeps getting more rare out there. Keep in mind, overall, They're projecting that we only have about 25 days worth of diesel fuel left in the country right now at the time of me filming this video. So again, keep those tips in mind. Do what you need to do to get your stuff squared away, and just make sure you're keeping on top of your preps, and you'll make it through this all right. Remember, stay safe and stay prepared.